Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Empowered CPA podcast. I am your host, Dawn Scott. Today, I have a super special guest with me. She is the founder of the Happy Family blog, a lifestyle blog where she shares all sorts of beautiful things from her life with so many amazing followers. She has a background with major companies like Walmart and Coca-Cola and Heinz and my personal favorite, Disney. She has social media platforms where she shares her goodness with all of her followers. And she just, you know what, she has such a great background. Welcome, Christy.
I'm so excited to be here, Dawn.
Why don't you share your background? It is so in-depth and it's so magical, and I'm not doing it very much justice.
You're so sweet. So I have been really, really lucky in the social media space. I feel like I started in an industry that didn't exist, right?
We were just talking about we were born into dinosaur time.
Exactly, before the internet. So my first couple of jobs, I did traditional marketing pieces, and then I started to work for a digital marketing agency, and they didn't do social media. And so I pitched the owner, can I start doing social media for you? And he was like,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, what is social media? So my first clients for social media were the Boca Raton. It was not the Boca Raton then. It was the Boca Raton Resort and Club and the Breakers. So, I mean, talk about,
fancy.
Right? Like,
I mean, terrible place to start.
Dream clients. But it was really just saying, like, this is something that's happening. And so I started their Facebook pages, and that's really how my love of social media started. And then I had my daughter, and I was working 100-hour weeks. We know the struggle, right? Like, she was born premature, and I was missing her entire life. I would get up in the morning and leave. She would be sleeping. I would get back home, and she would already be asleep. There was a nanny there with her. I wasn't leaving her alone.
She threw Cheerios on the ground.
We left her home all day long while I worked.
There's a monitor.
100-hour weeks, yeah. No, she had a nanny at the house with her. And I just said, I don't want to do this. It's so sad to miss. And now there's this reel going around on Instagram about the first 4 years of your child's life and how you can't get it back. And I think, like, I missed that first almost entire year. Like, the weekends just wasn't enough. So I knew that people were starting blogs, but I didn't really know, like, how people monetized. So Michelle with Modern Boca Mom, and then Heather with Local Mom Scoop, who recently passed away, so I'm going to try to not cry about it. But they both had blogs, and I realized that they were businesses, but I didn't know them well enough to ask how they made money, right? This, like, why is it that we think that talking about money it's like this ugly thing that we're not allowed to talk about.
Especially as women.
Right? Especially as a CPA, like, people hide this stuff. So I met with Heather from Local Mom Scoop at a coffee shop and just said, like, should I do this? Like,
what am I looking at?
Yeah, I'm like, is this a good idea? And she was so supportive and said, yes, like, there is space for all of us here. Start it. So I started Happy Family blog, not knowing how to make money, but I knew I could.
Right.
And I was like, I joke that I was making minimum wage for the first year, maybe 2 years.
We're past that, though.
Yeah, thank God. We're way past that. We're like a 6-figure business now. We're good. But it was real. Like, that first year, my husband was like, "This is cute. Like, you get to, like, play."
Right. And when are you going back to work?
Exactly. It was like, no. It was what income producing activities have you done today?
That's right.
Remember, that's his favorite question, because I was the president of a nonprofit junior league for 3 years,
which is so impressive on its own.
Oh, it was a great passion project, but it is not an income producing project.
But the connections you find in that are just life. I mean, I haven't even told you this. I recently engaged with a new client who found me because his wife was a past member of Junior League like 30 years ago.
I love
with
it.
a client of mine who did another thing with me, and it was like this weaving path of Junior League.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I feel like all the inspiring women I know, besides you, and I tried to recruit you for a long time.
I moved out of the city.
Yeah. Parkland people are allowed to be in Boca's Junior League, but that's okay. But really, when I look back at, like, all of the women, I've grown up in Boca, and all of the women I could think of, Debbie Abrams, Cindy Kresbeck, Marta Batmasian, like, these women are just pillars of the community. Absolutely. And the one thing that was the consistent across all of them was their background in Junior League. So while it was not income producing, it was life changing, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
There's futures in this.
Yes. Well, I really, it
dividends.
Gives you training that you could not get anywhere else. Mm-hmm. I can now, like, come on your podcast and not be nervous, right? Like, I can now speak I've spoken in front of thousands of people. Like, those are all skills that
they don't teach you.
They don't teach you and are invaluable.
Do you remember speech class in college?
Yes.
I still get anxiety when I think about it. I can still picture myself in speech class and like who was sitting around me because it was so traumatizing.
Oh, in grad school, my palms would be like sopping wet. I wouldn't sleep the night before, right? It would just be like, it was the worst. But anyway, back to my happy family blog.
Yes,
so
it
was all about like, how do I inspire people to find the joy in every day, right? We're running a million miles a minute and we're not taking the time to like slow down. And so I wanted to show easy recipes that like anybody, I am not a chef, as you know, but I want to show easy recipes that any mom could make. Easy ways to celebrate. Like we have a whole bunch of St. Patty's Day things. I just posted these adorable little half donuts that I made into
the rainbows.
Like easy things. And when Bailey's friends come over, they're like over the moon about these like sweet little crafts. And when Bea comes home from school, she's like, what campaigns do we have today? What projects do we have?
Well, and what a gift for her as well.
It is the best, right? To show our daughters that we can create an entire business with literally a computer and a phone.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's mind-boggling.
Well, and even that mommy has something that is outside of just
Raising
making
you.
sure. Yeah. I mean, you're a very obviously important part of my life,
Yes.
but there's other things that move me too. And that's okay and good.
And really good. Yes.
It's very good.
No, really, really good. I mean, there were moments in which I thought I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. You and I have talked about this.
I remember I was like reminiscing on my 40-minute drive here because I moved to the suburbs. And we used to sit on Bailey's playroom floor, remember? And like our girls are a couple weeks apart. And so they were very compatible together. And so they would just do their baby things. And we would just talk about like, what do we want to do? Like, what is our background? What did we like about it? What didn't we like about it? And try to focus mainly on the things we liked. But like, what do we want our business to look like? And what kind of lifestyle do we want? And what's important to us? And that was huge. I mean, that was a year or so. And we're like, I think I have this. And then this is what this means. And
and now it's I mean, like, right? Like our girls are like 9. Like that's like, it's really fun.
They have opinions and
a lot.
And it's so cute. And like, I have 2 girls and my girls, one's very girly and we have a lot of glitter and makeup. And then the other one's a little more sporty. We're trying to get more sporty. But just seeing their personalities and see what resonates with them about what I do and what they gravitate towards is so fascinating.
I think it's the greatest gift we can give them.
Absolutely.
And we pay Bea for her campaigns.
Good.
And I do that because I want her to understand the value of $1. And so it's very controversial, but she wanted an iPhone. And we let her save for an iPhone. And I told her she not only had to pay for the iPhone, but she has to pay for the service. She has to pay for the case. And she loses it with any bad behavior. So she has saved over $700. She got her phone. And she lost it for the first 4 days. So today's the first day she's going to have it. And I was really anti it, but now I think it's like really great. So like I got a new campaign the other day and she's like, all right, how much money are you going to pay me? And I tell her, and she's like, all right, so how much is that in terms of an iPhone, right? Like it gave her a sense of understanding of how expensive things are,
and
right?
a visualization of that. Because I don't know about you, but like my oldest will grab my phone and be like, I added some stuff to your cart and I push send. And I'm like, no. This is what the cancel button looks like.
Right.
Cancel. Cancel.
Right. I know.
You can't just do it. Like you can't.
Yeah, Bea has this wish list in Amazon that she adds everything to, but she doesn't order because she knows that she'd be in serious trouble. Yeah, well, cancel and like go to your room for like a couple of days, right? But I think it's important that our next step is to say that half of the money she has to save and the other half she can spend,
right?
Because this pandemic has created a monster shopper, and it's my own fault. I did it to myself. She was supposed to go to New York City with my dad for spring break because I was pregnant and on bed rest. And then literally the world stopped, right? Like the week of spring break when she was supposed to go. So I taught her about retail therapy and ordered her a Build-A-Bear. And the girl hasn't stopped shopping since.
Oh, no.
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Right. You're right. Thanks a lot.
2 weeks to shop.
2 weeks for the rest of my life.
But it's such great lessons for them, right? We want them to be able to see us balancing, not balancing at all because it's not possible, right?
Seasons. We
go
through seasons.
Exactly. Seasons, right? Like, I love that saying. It's like, I can look good, my kids can look good, or my house can look good.
You can't have all 3.
Right? Pick one. And I feel like that's me. Like, my business could do really well. I could be a good mother, or my house can look good.
Right. Nobody comes to my house.
Well, we have a game room like that is separate. Right. So people only come for the game room and the pool. I'm like, I'm sorry, but no one's allowed in the house.
No fly zone.
Bailey took someone in the other day and I was like, you did what?
No, the rules. Yes. The rules state you can't do that.
You stay up here in this space and away from the mess because it's too much to keep
Can't.
it all happening.
Yeah, you just can't do it.
Yeah. So, but it's been the greatest gift, I feel like, to have this business. I'm so happy that
Yes.
that Kurt was cute and said, like, I married you and we said
I do.
that we would be a dual income family. And now you keep your end of the bargain.
Dual means two.
Yeah. Like, you are happy to be a stay-at-home wife, but our lifestyle is going to have to change. And I think that was a really hard decision. There were some days that I was like, I will live in a 1-bedroom apartment to stay home. But I'm happy I didn't, because I would have missed this like beautiful opportunity to like feel good about myself and to grow a following and like really
A
have
huge
sense
following,
of,
by the
thank
way.
you.
Like, okay, so when you started, I think you did a lot of the blog stuff, but I think something that's really exciting is how you've kind of grown during the years, and you're working on something really amazing that I selfishly am excited that you're working on.
Oh, you're so
It's
sweet.
just incredible. So tell me this new venture that you're working on.
Oh, you're so sweet. So last year I lost my Instagram account that has almost 70,000 followers.
70,000 guys. How does that happen? How does that? That's a whole conversation.
That's
How does
a whole
that
other
happen?
conversation. A lot of work, a lot of strategy, way too much time on an app, but really, really good content, lots and lots of time. Basically 8 years of building a business and treating it like a business, right? I think you really need to, no matter if it just feels like at the beginning a hobby, it needs to be treated like a business. It will only grow if you treat it like a business. So I've always treated it like a business, even when I didn't know how I was going to make money.
Unsure of the specifics.
Right. I knew it was out there. So what I'm doing is exactly that. I want to teach other people the best way that I make money is through my brand partnerships. And so brands come to me and they pay me a flat fee to create content.
They come to you.
They do come to me. Thank God, right?
The
That's
magic.
like the dream.
Did Disney come to you? I need to know more about Disney, but
Yes.
did Disney came to you?
So Disney, I went to. Okay. So pitching is part of the process. And that's part of what I'm teaching in my membership class is how to find the contacts, right? Because it's all about the magic gatekeeper and how to get to the person and how to have that subject line that catches their attention, right? I have over 100 followers. So that's an easy subject line. Like, I'm an influencer who wants to work with you. I hate the word influencer.
I was going to ask.
I'm trying to switch to content creator because I feel like content creator is like a much better fit of what I am, right?
Well, and you have a master's degree. I mean, you have, again, I did a really crummy job of your introduction, but you have, I mean, semester at sea, you have, like, your background is much bigger than I would consider I'm air quoting, a traditional influencer.
But I think somehow influencers have gotten this really, really bad rap. And it may be that a lot of influencers who have done spectacularly well are in the fashion industry. Right. But I have to give these women unbelievable props, right? Because you can't just like post a picture of yourself and call it a day, right? There's hashtag strategies, there's timing strategies, there's the type of content. Some people want to see a full body, they want to see a video, they want to see a reel. They have figured out what their audience wants. And I love the term servicing instead of selling. They're servicing their audience, right? They're taking away all of, I do not like to shop. So they're taking away all of that like angst of going to the mall and going store by store by store and not finding anything you like. And it's amazing to be able to see someone with your body to wear it, right?
Like, because we're both tall girls.
Yes.
Voices only aren't indicative of that, but we're both 6 feet tall, and that's a much different market than our shorter friends.
Exactly.
And so when you can see somebody who looks like you and has the same lifestyle as you, that's just a really easy way to.
It's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
Yeah. So
back to that. So
I have so much respect for these women who are influencers. I don't know why we got such a bad name. I mean, I do, because it looks, I like to say, we make it look easy, right? Your goal as a business owner is to make it look easy, but it's not easy. And I've been trying to share more and more like behind the scenes so people understand most of my day is spent at a computer, like pitching to brands. I just got, a 7-page contract. I'm reviewing every single page of it because these are legal binding agreements with like
money,
big companies, right? Yeah.
Who have legal departments.
Who have huge legal departments. Like this is a contract with BJ's Wholesales that I'm just starting a 6-month contract with. Awesome. So I'm so excited. But the contract took them 3 weeks to give to me, which means it went through a lot of legal. And then little old me is going to read it.
It looks perfect.
It looks amazing. But no, I need to know. And that's part of what I teach in my membership group too. Like I am not an attorney, but I know like the buzzwords that I need to look at to say, does it have exclusivity, which means that you can't work with any other brands. Some brands try to like sneak that in. BJ's was very upfront at the beginning and said, we want you to be exclusive. We don't want you to work with any other wholesale clubs. And that's great. But that also means an additional price, right? So if you have a contract that has exclusivity and you haven't charged for it, They also want to have image rights. They want to be able to use my images in other places. So that's an upcharge, right?
Absolutely.
So you need to be able to read these contracts to know. So there is so much behind the scenes business that happens that I think if people knew that, they would realize that like the one picture that you post,
it's not just your 30 seconds of your day.
Exactly. That's like one day I'll do batch content for the week, but then the rest of the week, including Saturday and Sunday, like I'm talking to clients, sending them stats, figuring out new strategies. Social media is changing
fast
every day.
Even I know that. And
Right?
I know like I'm not even embarrassed. Like I had Stephanie help me. I was like, hey, I want to add a video to my Instagram. How do I do that? And I handed her my phone. And then she's like, okay, Dawn. Like, pushes the button and she's like, I'll set it up for you. I was like,
smart business
fabulous.
owners know when to ask for help though.
Right. And so I think what I think what is super important is that pitching and having, especially someone who's new, like who's just starting out and you're like, how do I make money with this? Like your course and your information and your experience is so important.
I have to say, it's also for me, like so exciting because I remember what it felt like in those opening days to be like,
how do we make money?
Exactly. Like, yes, Kurt, I'm working on income producing activities. I don't know how I'm going to make money.
I'm trying, though.
I'm trying everything I can.
Right.
And everybody he was so cute too at the beginning of this. You're going to give away all the secrets. Like, what happens? No, I really think that rising tides lift all boats, right?
Absolutely.
So if you were, I know you're not a content creator of like the traditional sense, but
Negative.
you're starting, you have a podcast now. But like if a brand works with a content creator and has a horrible experience, when I pitch them, they're not going to want to pay my rate. Mm-hmm. And so if they work with a content creator who does amazing, then when I come, they're going to pay my rate with no problem. And so I want everyone to do amazingly well. Right. And so this group is so much fun to see. I have people who have less than 1,000 followers all the way up to 80,000 followers on Instagram, because even people who make tons of money doing this have different ways, right? You can make revenue from ads on your site. You can make it through affiliate sales. So there are people that have full-fledged businesses that have never worked with brands. And so being able to walk them, we had our first training yesterday in the membership, and we talked about sponsor networks, which is how I originally started working with brands. It's basically online networks that say, this is who I am, like Coca-Cola's on there. Hey, I'm Coke. There's the Super Bowl coming up. We want you to do like this, and this for the Super Bowl. This is how much we'll pay you, which I always say, like, I'm addicted to the sponsor networks.
Sounds fun.
Because it's so much fun, right? They tell you what they want,
which
how
is
much
so
they
nice.
want to pay you. It's so much easier.
It's like online dating. This is what you're getting. This is what I'm prepared to give you. Mm-hmm. Does that sound like you want to go on a date?
Right? Are you interested?
It's better than 6 months with a guy and then you're like, oh.
Right, which sometimes is the direct pitching world, right? Where you're like pitching. So next we're going to start going to direct pitching, because really the sponsor network, the downside is less money, right? There's a middleman who has to get paid, as they should, because they're the ones that went out and had salespeople. Mm-hmm. But it is such a great way to get your foot in the door and to start to have content. And some of them also have huge ad budgets. So I was opening my phone up and I have one post that it reached 500,000 people because they put money behind it and put an ad. And so now my content was seen by 500,000 people that I didn't have to do anything for. So it's incredible, right? Even I had a blog post that they did the same and it reached 30,000 people. Like that's a really great benefit to working with these networks. Now, pitching direct is where you make the real money. But it takes a long time.
Right. So is that where you see yourself, like when you sit down, and I know you're like goal oriented, is that where you see yourself like moving towards, or you're learning stuff where you're helping your clients? Is that the progression that you want to see?
I think it is. It's so funny. My dad's always like, what's the 5? What's the 10? I'm
I
like,
love your dad.
I do too. But the problem is in this industry, it's changing so rapidly. I try to not put down like those goals because I think that I'll stifle myself. So what this has moved into is, first I started with a masterclass to tell people like, here's what it looks like to make money with brands. Right. And then it went into a monthly membership. Mm-hmm. And now I'm having people say, hey, I don't have time to pitch. Will you pitch for me? So my husband pitches for me. I think I shared with you. I wanted to call him my brand manager, which is like what a normal person is called who manages brand partnerships.
I can't wait for whatever comes next.
He went for VP of Awesome. So Kurt is my VP of Awesome.
We should get him a shirt.
He totally needs a shirt, like Happy Family Blogs, VP of Awesome. And he is awesome because he's already pitched 300 brands this year.
It's March.
I know. He's killing it. So I wake up in the morning and there's like emails and messages on Instagram and he's just...
Do you pay him too or just Bailey?
I know I should pay him, right? I pay him in other ways, travel and no, but I know today we were talking about bank accounts and he's like, should we, don't we, what? But so maybe I should pay him. I mean, actually
not if he doesn't ask for it.
We'll talk about taxes later. Yeah. Maybe I should pay him.
This podcast isn't about taxes.
But maybe my CPA should tell me if I should pay him.
We'll talk about
we can talk about that offline. But it is amazing. So now we have our first client who we're pitching for. I have a couple other clients who want us to pitch for them because it's super, super time consuming, right? He's pitched 300 and we've gotten 7, but it's only been like 2 months of him pitching. But you've got to cast a wide net because some of them came back and said, all of our partnerships 2022.
Whole year?
The whole year.
How far out do you, again, I don't know, how far out do you book this stuff?
So not normally that far for me.
Jeez.
Normally I pitch, so I have a couple of clients who I have year contracts with, but they work with more than one influencer. But one like contracted this very, very large account who has 2.2 million followers. It's like a collaboration of a bunch of influencers together, and they're doing all of their social media for the entire year. So, sometimes you get those answers, but sometimes you get somebody say, oh, yes, here's our PR agency. And then you get like the golden ticket, right? You've got access to sometimes like 50 or 60 people. So I'll reach out and say, hey, they may come back and say, oh, we don't have any opportunities right now. And then I'm like, oh, well, could I send you my media kit? And could you share it with the rest of your office? Like I see that you guys also work with X, Y, and Z brand. And then they do. So like these doors are going to open. So I see that direct pitching is going to be our way. But I'm finalizing my ebook on how to pitch brands. I want to keep spreading this message because it has literally changed my entire life, right? And I want to be able to help other people have the same lifestyle that allows you, I'm a workaholic. You could not, it's possible that you could not work as much as I work and still be successful. But so it is possible. Like I did pick Bailey up from school yesterday, which is very exciting, awesome. Right?
Yeah.
So it gives you like the flexibility. Mm-hmm. And then now I have some businesses that are coming to me and saying, hey, would you create an influencer program for me?
That's fantastic.
Right? So I am hoping to be on both sides of it and take this knowledge to be able to share it with small business owners as well, to say, here, this is how we find you influencers. This is what you need to look for, right? Like I know all the red flags.
This is what crazy looks like.
Right? Folks. Well, and also this is what fake looks like.
Right.
Because you can buy
followers. I heard that. I found that out. I don't know how you do that either, but you can buy them.
Unfortunately, I know how because these people like come into my DMs all the time. There was one yesterday for $3,000. You could get 1 million followers, and they'll keep refilling the 1 million followers as they leave.
Drop off.
But here's the problem with buying followers is everything is about engagement.
So if you have 3 people liking your stuff.
Exactly. Then people are like, what?
Math.
And Instagram knows everything. And Instagram has a health score. And if you do things that Instagram doesn't like, they know. Right? Because most of the time, those are bot followers. Bot as in like...
Bot
as in, yes, robots. As in robot, as well as bot as in paid.
Purchased and robots.
It's a double bot. And so those robots are never going to engage in your content. So you don't want people who are following you who don't genuinely want to follow your content.
Right.
Because they'll never engage with you. So those offers are always so cute. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet.
Delete.
No, exactly. But it's nice to be on the other side for the business and say, oh, no, you don't want to work with that person because look at these. They've never posted anything. It's like a random picture. Like you can tell what the bot followers are. And so it would be so nice for them to have that information so they protect themselves.
This is like such a crazy industry.
It's the wild, wild west.
Well, and then you add in TikTok, which has such quippy little music. But there's I've had several clients that started in the social media space, but 10 years ago when it was just Facebook and Facebook was, you had to be at a college, remember? And you had to get like a college email to anyways, we've come a long way since then. Yes. And so it does, it change. And I joke because my industry changes a lot. Tax code changes every year, but I think you guys have it worse than I do.
So it's interesting. I had lunch with a friend the other day. Her name's Jessica. Her website is Celebration Stylist. She's incredible, right? She was one of my first Instagram friends, and she lived in Boca. And I was like, she just had like the most beautiful content. She still does. And she has like over 80,000 followers on Instagram. She's always been this great inspiration for me. And we were saying, Instagram brainwashed us, right? It used to be
just pictures.
Exactly.
And it was fun.
Yes, but they had to be perfect, square pictures.
Yes.
Perfect, right?
Yeah.
Your feed had to look.
This is why I have one picture on Instagram. Like, no joke. You can check it out.
But your feed had to be like this perfect look, similar color, right? That's how people started doing filters, and they wanted it all to look exactly the same. And now they announced the other day, they're no longer a photo sharing platform.
What are they?
They want to be a video platform.
That's YouTube.
Thank you. So they want to be TikTok. So that's why they're pushing Reels. They have a creators program. So like I started posting a ton of Reels because I get paid by Instagram directly to post Reels. And they're doing that because TikTok does that. They have a creators fund on TikTok. So they're totally switching. They want to be a shopping platform.
Like a Spotify meets
I don't
pretty
even know.
photos?
They want to be their own, but no, they don't want photos anymore.
So they're just going through an identity crisis.
They're a total identity crisis, and they're taking all of us along with them. And what Jess and I were saying the other day is, no, you told us, first of all, that we had to have square photos. Like,
so I gave you square photos.
I know, and even iPhones have an option to make a square photo.
Right.
Like, I can't even tell you how much time it took to figure out to have the perfect image on my big camera to make sure that it would fit square, right? Like, Kurt took some photos for me the other day. God bless him. He forgot about the square memo. And the product was going to be cut off, and the client has to have the branding in the shot.
Well, and Kurt was, essentially a professional photographer.
100%.
So the rest of us who don't have that,
yeah,
even worse.
He's an unbelievable photographer.
Exactly.
He just forgot the square. So I took it into Photoshop and like added pixels to the bottom of it so that I could crop it so that it would still work. And now they're telling us, we don't want your photos, and they don't have to be square anymore.
I don't even know this world anymore.
To be honest, it's so exhausting. Once a week, I try to have lunch with a friend or like do a online talk with a friend who's in the community. And literally every single one of us has said, we're just exhausted. Like we can't, you have to like figure out your lane and stay in your lane and just say, I can't do everything. I can't be all things to everyone. And that's okay.
But that's perfect. I mean, that's how you're in. The stages and the progressions of a business is when we first start, we take everything we possibly can because it's like, what income producing activity did you do today? It's like, oh, look, I did this. It may not have fit what I wanted to set out to do, but I made money today. And then as your base gets a little more secure and you have more funds coming in, that's when you become selective. And then now at the stage you're in now, it's like, well, I don't have to do all of these things. These are the things that I like to do. And these are the most revenue generating things, or these are the things that I think provide the most value. Mm-hmm. And it's such a wonderful way to get to a part in your business where you're like, this is it. This is how you make money.
I want to do. Yes.
I
and enjoy it.
Yeah. Right. And so, going through those stages and not only reflecting back on where you've come from and like all the changes in the industry, but also looking forward and saying, these are the things I like about it, and ensuring that you protect those things as you move forward. Because when you start working with other people, then letting them creep into your time or letting them creep into how you do your billings or how you do, you don't want to let them dictate too much, but it's this fine dance of you still have to play nicely with people.
Right. But you need to have systems in place, right? I am super grateful that I had that time to like put a billing system in place, right? Because most of my clients have like contracts that they send, but if they don't, like you need to be able to write your own contracts. Mm-hmm. You need to have a standard contract because I worked with Sprouts the other day and I love Sprouts. It's like my favorite.
It's so peaceful there.
It's so peaceful, right? You feel like
organic food.
I know. It really, they want you to feel like you're at an outside market. And I feel like that is, and they have my favorite products. But the gentleman hadn't worked with a lot of influencers. And he's like, so what happens next? I'm like, a contract. Like, right?
And then you pay a retainer.
Right, yes. But nothing happens without a contract because you don't know what's going to happen. Your contact could be gone tomorrow, and a handshake doesn't work for this stuff.
Not anymore.
Right? It's so sad that that's where we are, but you need a contract that says, like, what we're going to do, I said, if you don't want to provide one, I'm happy to provide one, because that's how we have to move forward, because this is a business. Like I said, you have to treat it like a business. Otherwise, I had a really, really sweet DM the other day, and they're like, what's your rate? And I told them my rate. Well, would you do it for this? And it was like a quarter of my rate. He's like, but I have 3 of them. I'm like, so you want me to do 3 times the work for less than what I would charge you for 1? He's like, but we want a long-term partnership. I'm like,
Sure
I don't want a long-term partnership with somebody who doesn't value what I bring to the table.
Right.
I love that you really, he's like, we're so eager to work with you. If you were eager to work with me,
You'd pay my rate.
right, you would wait until you have budget to pay my rate. Like, I don't mean to be rude, but it's not fair to my client yesterday who paid my rate today to discount it to you who I have no relationship with.
Right.
So it's important to figure out your line in the sand, right?
Right. And one thing I talk a lot about with my one-on-one clients is, you have that standard rate, and that standard rate allows you to have a lifestyle that you want to have and a business that you're proud of and all those things. But also by doing that, you have the opportunity that if somebody does come to you and they are your perfect client and you feel the same way about them, but they may not have that budget,
right,
but you see potential or you feel something, you have that ability because you've been paid your worth everywhere else. And then it's a conscious choice, which feels different. Right. It's not like, I have to do this because I have to pay my mortgage, and getting to that point in your business where you're like, I'm solid enough, I know my worth, but I really want to work with this person. Right. That's an incredible place to be.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you. Or different deliverables, right? So if someone only has a budget for that, like I'm always like, Instagram stories is a great place. Instagram story is easy for me. I'm happy to figure out, right? I try to customize all my packages. So if that's your whole budget, great, let's do this. Let's see how it performs, see how my audience likes your product. And then once that's proven, you can find other budget, because there's always more money.
There's always money.
Right? There's always money. And if because I love what I did pitch a brand the other day, and they're like, oh, we only have an affiliate program. My girlfriend has 500,000 followers on Instagram, and she did a campaign with them. I'm like, I can tell you that my friend did not.
That's not the arrangement I'm aware of.
I am 100, because it was also a squeeze pouch. So I said to Kurt, how many squeeze pouches do we have to sell to make our rate? This is not so obviously maybe you only deal with affiliate, but there's somebody else who does brand partnerships.
Point me in a different direction.
Yeah. Could you give me the contact for the brand partnerships, please? Because I'm not here to hawk yogurt.
Right.
That's a lot of
and
yogurt.
I personally bought enough yogurt for my kids that I know you have the budget.
Right? Yeah. It's yes, 100%.
Right, but that I think is even just that portion in what you're doing now, teaching people that if somebody tells you no, you may not be talking to the right person.
Right.
You might be, but no doesn't always mean no if you can get to somebody else. But also knowing when to stop, right? You can't just bully your way through. Yeah. But having that guidance, and I'm excited to see how this goes, because I'm probably going to need some help eventually as well. Because, again, know what you know and know what you don't know. I'm really good at what I do, right, but I am really bad at what you do, which
Same.
is but that's, it's part of your village, and that's part of, I could probably figure it out in 10 years if I tried really hard, but what am I giving up? Mm-hmm. I'm giving up a lot of clients who pay my hourly rate. Right. So I should just enlist the help of somebody who knows. Right. And so I think that's something in your industry that probably happens a lot too. It's like, oh, well, I can do that. Or my cousin's daughter is really into Instagram, so let's just have her do it, right? So sticking with that and having a plan and knowing your worth is so important.
It is. And I think we're all people don't want to, like we said before, people don't want to talk about money.
Right.
And you need to find your tribe who is willing to share. And in my membership, I share with them what my rate is, because I want them to know. And I share with them all the stats that I have about what other brands have shared with me. They say that there's no formula. There's a formula, and I actually wrote a blog post on it called how to price out your sponsored post, because there's a set formula, but then there's the add-ons that we talked about with the image rights and exclusivity, and are they going to boost your post for you? You should be paid for all of that, and that's where you need to decide how much. And sometimes for a brand, I'll say, I love you, we have a long-term relationship, I won't charge you for this or that. And sometimes I say no. And I'm with you. I have done I so specifically remember my first year doing campaigns at a rate that I was not happy with. Oh, I was like angry producing content.
Of course.
Right? Like angry going to the store to buy the product, angry. And I was like, this is horrible. Like they're so real. It's like, this is me going to like fight with my husband. Like that was me making the content. And I was like,
go to the store.
Right? I'm like, do not take money. Like don't take it if you're going to be angry, because it should, for me, producing the content is really fun.
Right.
So that part should be fun. If you're angry about it, then
You're doing
you
it
did
wrong.
not charge enough money.
But I also think even in my field where there's a huge range of services that, my fellow accountants provide, but there's also people in my field who don't necessarily have the same credentials.
Right.
And so, I'll get people who are like, well, I paid $50 for that last year. And I'm like, fantastic. You should go back there, because if that is your biggest concern, I am the wrong place for you. And if that doesn't work, at least in my field, you're coming back and you're paying twice as much because I have to fix that. And then, and so also acknowledging in your field that there are the 10-year-olds who are better at Instagram than I am, which is all 10-year-olds. And then, there's, the college kids who have grown up with it. And then there's people who have legitimate history and background and a general better understanding of everything. And the rates are commensurate with that.
They are. And I think that's my big thing that I like try to teach my clients is it's not just about followers, right? Like we've gotten into this vanity metrics of how many followers, and I'm guilty of it too, right? I mean, like I made sure to say 100,000 followers, because when I'm in a room and I say that, like people perk up.
Yeah, I'm like,
right?
You have how many? How
I
does that
know,
even
right?
work?
It gives you credibility, but that's not the only thing that gives you credibility, right? I have a unbelievable food photographer in my group, and so I'm like, lean into that. I have a girl in the group who has written for like Forbes and Travel Weekly, like unbelievable bylines. I'm like, lean into that.
Yes.
I have another woman who's been on the cover of like all these magazines. Lean into that, right? Like we all have a differentiator, and we all should be paid for that. And
Absolutely.
I'm with you. It's not like if you say, oh, well, I could hire a teenager to take a photo of, yeah, you could. And they probably do a better TikTok than I do. But they don't understand the background. They don't understand the timing that needs to go into when to post it, who to comment, all of that strategic part. They don't understand, and they don't have the other business side of it that you deserve to be paid for, right? It takes a long time to set up a business. You don't just like wake up and...
A sustainable business.
Yes.
I mean, listen, I could go on Sunbiz right now. We could start as many businesses as we could come up with.
Very true.
But for them to be around,
business,
to be around in 5 years,
right.
which is a huge marker. You know, you're what, 8?
Yes.
Has it been 8?
So crazy. That's the thing with the girls, like having kids gives you this like point of like,
Time
right?
index.
It started when Bailey was 1. So like she'll be like,
she's gonna be 10.
She's gonna be 10 this year. So like we're coming up this summer will be 9 years. Like that's crazy. So it's good to have them as the
We're
marker.
like 23. How old was I last week when we recorded? I was like 23.
I say to Kurt all the time, like, sometimes I don't think I'm old enough to have kids. And then I realize, like, I'm old enough I have friends who have kids that are going into college.
I do too.
Right? I'm like, I'm old enough to almost have grandkids.
No.
No, but if we had
Way ahead of
kids,
yourself.
if we had kids at like 20
I know.
and our kids had kids at 20, we could be grandparents.
My mom was a grandma at 49.
Right?
Sorry, Mom. I just blew that for you.
My
49.
mom was not, but my mom had her kids before 25. So, like, if I had my kids in my 20s, like, that's crazy to think.
It just feels like everything's going so quickly, and
It is.
but it's so important to like what you do, right? I mean, we could all still be stuck at corporate jobs making good money and having health benefits, but
Health benefits.
But I feel like that also requires more Botox in your forehead because you're just mad, you know, like the lines you get where you're like, what are you doing? Like, you know, those ones? Mine would be a lot stronger.
Kurt actually said that the other day. He's like, do you remember when you were building your business and I went to a job every day I didn't like? I'm like, I do.
I do. Thank you for doing that.
Because he's building a business now. And I'm like, I totally get it. Like,
I appreciate you.
I so appreciate you. And I appreciate you that you like encourage me to do this because he would still have to be at a job he doesn't like if he was the only income because there would be no time for like one person to be supporting the family and the other to be growing a business.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess we could, but I don't want to live like that.
Right. Exactly.
I need income to be coming in to be comfortable.
So tell me how people can find you. what's the best way to get in hold of you? What's the best way to contact you? If, when I know they love what they're hearing, how do they find you?
Happy Family Blog across everything. My URL is Happy Family Blog. All of my social channels. I'm on Instagram all day long. You can send me a DM.
I'm always there.
I'm always on Instagram. When it is your number one revenue producing place, you live there. Or I'm Christy at happyfamilyblog.com, CRISTY. You can email me. But we've got room in our membership if you're interested in learning how to work with brands. I really, really want to share this wealth of knowledge with other people so that you too can really love what you're doing and make money, right? That's like the win-win.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This has been so much fun. You guys can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you enjoy your shows.